Sonam, for people that have not listened to my conversations with John before, give us the 1,000-foot perspective on where are you talking to me from today and what's your job there?
I'm talking from Lukla. It is a gateway of Mount Everest and Khumbu Valley.
Hmm.
And my job here, I'm running the hotel, and uh, I'm doing uh, the fire service, Everest Fire and Rescue.
Hmm.
Uh, the Everest Fire and Rescue is s- uh, technically and supported by the Scottish Fire and Rescue and John.
That's weird, isn't it? Something from all over the other side of the world, supported by Scottish Fire and Rescue, of all things. Why has that been necessary, Sonam? Like, because most people, they'll go, that doesn't make any sense. Why
Yeah,
are Scottish Fire and Rescue Service helping somebody in Everest? Why are their own? Why are they not being helped? And like, how long has the fire service been about there now?
well, it's been 3 years uh, since we started, since 2023. And why we need the Scottish and some expertise is because uh, we uh, we install some fire hydrant and some system already 10 years back, 10, 12 years back in here in Lukla. And with I personally thought that if the system is installed, it is okay, that my job is finished. But since uh, we so many years back, and every 2 3 years, we did have a big fire accident in our village. We lost in past, we lost so many houses. And I thought that if I install the fire hydrant and the good water pressure system, and my job is done. But uh, but during that big accident, I really feel that we we how uh, how the well how training is very very necessary in this,
Hmm.
in that kind of that kind of big incident. And then luckily we made the we made the very good experience, uh, highly experienced, qualified fire and rescue, big fire and rescue trainer. A big, what I'm saying that highly qualified is I did so many train from the couple of international people, I don't like to say the country name, but
No, no,
I
no.
did.
You don't need to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
So in term, yeah. So that's where we feel, because we lost so many
Mhm.
houses in our town, uh, and that's where how we feel that the importance of the training. Even today, we've been very very rural area, uh, area of Nepal. And for like your Western country and developed country, it might be very very simple thing. It might be culture from your basic school, but it is not.
Mhm.
It's not like here.
Mm.
A very very basic thing. Unfortunately, we have to teach in the community. So that's
So
why we have to learn from the expertise people.
before like 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, before that, when the community would have an accident or a fire, or there was an aircraft of some form that was having trouble, or a road traffic collision or something like, how would the community deal with it?
Yeah, before, like yeah, mm, 10, 15, 20 years back, the communities always think, for example, the casualty need to anywhere wrap up and pack as soon as possible.
Hmm.
Then then go for the hospital
Mhm.
or ambulance or send them by the
Mhm.
helicopter. We did so many mistakes in past just 15, 20 years. Just
Mhm.
so many, we handled so many serious casualty. Just wrap up and pack. We honestly we never knew about how to. We never knew about the casualty care before training. If we like yeah as I'm coming your question.
That's okay.
uh yeah, before 15 years we just wrap and pack and send them the
Mhm.
casualty. Ooh, whatever
Yeah,
their
yeah.
condition.
And were they just
Yeah,
not making it very well? Just unfold a little bit of that for me, if you can, John. So, like, when we say, because obviously one of the biggest concerns out there is probably people freezing to death. You know, if they have an open wound or they're, involved in an accident, it's them losing massive amounts of body heat and not getting to critical care very quickly. Like, in the most respectful way, can you give a little bit of an understanding of what some of the casualty assessment and rescue techniques would have been when you perhaps first came
Yeah.
over, and then some of the clues, sort of teachings, scenario-based training that you've done?
Yeah, so when Sonam talks about wrapping and packaging a casualty, he means that somebody would get tied to somebody's back and then walked to hospital, or they would get put over a donkey and the donkey would take them up to hospital. So there's no
Wow.
inline stabilization. The stretchers were rudimentary, if anything.
Hmm.
They didn't know about keeping a casualty warm, oxygenating, inline stabilization. Since we started 3 years ago, we've supplied multiple stretchers. Every time I come out, I'll take a trauma doctor with me to lead the trauma care. Although myself, and the other firefighters are trained in trauma care, I always believe in the subject matter experts. Just being
Definitely.
somebody that's, a doctor that's worked in a major trauma centre, been involved in wilderness emergency medical care, and the equipment that was taken over is really good kit
Mhm.
for that as well. So we've got the training, we've got the equipment, we've got the experience.
So I know in the UK, just as one example for a second, John, we can sometimes over-index a bit too much on the concerns around spinal alignment,
Yes.
when realistically sometimes it's not as much of a prevalent injury.
Mm.
Whereas over there, I know people will kind of understand it, but just give us a context. I suppose the massive climbing community that is there, the terrain itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine there's a higher frequency of falls, for one, things falling on people, people falling from things. It's a very, very harsh terrain out there, isn't it?
That's just in the community, just outside the town. We've come across personally, myself and Sonam together have come across casualties that have fallen off the track, smashed their head in. So we're talking about inline stabilisation and casualty packaging. That is very important, highly important, because even to walk from the centre of town up to the hospital will take at least half an hour walk. So
Wow.
NB really rural that we've taken care of, it could be hours before they get to definitive medical care. Even at the local hospital, they're very, very limited at what they can do. So they would have to wait till morning time. If the weather was good, they may get a flight to Kathmandu to a major trauma centre. So you have to
So
be, looking after your casualty for a prolonged period of time.
between the two of you, how do you, and I imagine we have got the visual here, but for the audio listener as well, how do you strap a longboard to a donkey?
We don't bother with a longboard, you just put the person on the donkey. Strap the person to the donkey or
Okay.
strap the person to a porter's back. The porter will have a band round their head,
Yeah.
round the casualty, and the casualty will come off the mountain on the back of a porter. That's a person. And that porter will walk that casualty for miles.
They've got to be strong as an ox, haven't they? These people
They
must
are.
be so incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Like, but that just, how much of an expectation is placed on Sonam for yourself? Like, how much of an expectation is there for people to do the right thing versus how much of an emergency services response capability? And I want to be clever in how we speak about this, because I know the government are doing all they can, I'm sure, to support from an emergency services perspective. But I imagine there's not a lot of resources available to come and rescue these people? Because John, it sounds like you're alluding to the fact that members of the community seem to just be doing a lot of this themselves.
Yeah, so before I came up 3 years ago, Sonam and his brother, they were involved in firefighting, but they would just be doing what they could do with what they've got. It's still early days within Everest Fire and Rescue. And as I say to Sonam, Scottish Fire and Rescue as a whole, okay, we were split up before, has been around for 200 years, municipal fire service. Everest Fire and Rescue has been together for 3 years. So at the moment, we're still in the very, very early stages. So the expectation is maybe high, but we've
Isn't
got,
that mad, though? Like,
Yeah.
I always say that the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed.
Mhm.
Because you look across the world and you just go, how have they only had a fire service for 3 years? And again,
Yeah.
I'm saying all of this with respect to the many demands that I'm sure the government and everybody has, but people who have been climbing and visiting the area of Lukla, Sonam, for what, 90 years? I mean, way longer than that, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
become a huge destination for explorers for a very, very long time, for many, many generations, I would imagine.
Yeah, when you look at the population of the Khumbu, 7,000, but during peak season that can rise to 50 to 70,000 with tourists.
Wow.
But they don't have that infrastructure to be able to deal with that. And then
So
3 years ago
do
there was
do
no
those
fire
people
service.
do those people just, they bring all of their money and their own rescue teams and everything else, but for whatever reason, that doesn't
They,
find its
they
way
don't
into
bring their
local
own. I think
investment into infrastructure?
people presume and have presumed that there is a rescue teams in the vicinity. In the past, especially in the mountain region, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of the
It's a
Sherpa.
Western assumption, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the Sherpa on the expedition team will be the rescue team.
Yeah.
But they expect there to be a fire service. So when you land in Lukla, there has always been an aviation, 2 firefighters. But apart from that, there has been nothing else.
Sonam, talk to me about
Yes.
the people of Nepal. We've referenced there the Gurkha community. This is sort of renowned around the world for incredibly stoic, disciplined, highly professional, very kind, generous people. Where does that culture come from? Because I think that's quite a unique thing. And I know John has spoke incredibly highly of the communities that he's spent time with. They're both Gurkha and otherwise. I'm sure there's other, different cultural references. I apologize if I'm getting the words wrong, but where does that generosity of the people come from?
Well, we believe that that culture is the basically comes from the daily very very daily basic because very basic life here is very very difficult than other parts of the like big city like
Yeah.
Kathmandu and so this kind of culture is coming from we believe that very difficult situation from a very remote area where the daily from morning to evening its normal life need to be very hard and
Yeah.
struggle.
Looking after each other is almost essential, isn't it? People talk about living independently. I don't think people really understand what that means, because if you had to source your own electricity, had to manage your own waste, had to pave your own roads and grow your own food, no one can really live independently. So I suppose the community there is a great example of, to survive and sustain any sort of fulfillment, we need to pull together and look after each other. Am I right in hearing that?
But
So
yes.
in this latest trip, John, just give us, for people, we'll direct them back in the intro to our other episodes together. But we're 3 years old now with the Everest Fire Service. What were the early steps? There was a lot of kit transport. There was a lot of infrastructure support. Where are we moving to now in the phases of this sort of incredible project?
Yeah, so 3 years ago we started with Lukla, with Sonam. We had, I think it's 42 candidates started in Lukla. We've taken it all the way down to 8 core crew members. In the year succeeding that, we have gone from village to village all the way up to nearly Everest Base Camp and over this other side of Everest to a place called Chukung that sits just under 5,000 metres. We've trained at 5,500 metres just last week. Today, we took a flight down to an area a lot of miles away to spread Everest Fire and Rescue way down the valley. This has pretty much doubled my workload, I think. What's
Our
the name of
workload,
the
not
area
as in
we're
me, but
It-
everyone else.
It is called Aisha Lukarka. It is different district from here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's very low lying, but it is in mountains, but not like up here. It was like we came from very cold weather to extreme heat today.
Okay.
Very
You don't look warm.
different culture, very rural. I'm not warm now. I was very warm earlier. But we've basically pushed Everest Fire and Rescue
Okay.
satellite station way down the hill. So we probably just about doubled in size for training.
Wow. Where's Andy? Pull Andy in for a second because I want to get
Yes.
it. Is he still knocking about? Where is he?
Hey,
Andy,
mate. How are you?
you soft sack. How are you, brother?
Good to see you, mate.
You have done a lot of incredible work. You know, people who know you from 999 Reset and the incredible work that the team has done there. I did have a lot of respect for you until I heard about your pitiful performance in the last 48 hours or so in getting poorly. And I just want to use it as an example, if you'll allow me, to say you are someone that has done a tremendous amount of mountaineering, various places, a lot of sort of difficult, arduous conditions courses. Can you just give people a bit of an insight? Because obviously Sonam, born there. I would imagine he was born there. He's conditioned to it. John has been coming for many years. Just give us a bit of an understanding the difficulties of life there and how you've sort of found discovering what they do there.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is coming from the UK, we're pretty much coming from sea level. And then we fly ultimately into Kathmandu that sits at 1,600 metres, give or take. And then we transfer from Kathmandu up to Lukla that sits at 2,800 metres, give or take. So altitude sickness starts between 2,000 and 2,500 metres. So all of a sudden, we're catapulted into a high altitude environment. And Lukla here is considered a low altitude area. But for someone like myself and John coming from the UK at sea level, this is high altitude, sitting in Lukla. And then we've got to then look at how we navigate and move the team from Lukla, as John has said, up to 5,000, 5,500 metres. So that takes time. Elevation gain recommended is 300 to 500 metres at a time. So has a huge impact on the body. And even trying to live here daily, you're constantly trying to hydrate, you're taking on electrolytes, you're trying to sleep, you're short of breath, you're lightheaded. And I would say the majority of trekkers coming to Lukla and Everest, the Khumbu region, are on a path through to Everest Base Camp and back again. Whereas John has persuaded me to come here, and we've been at this altitude for pretty much a month. So it takes its toll on the body. And when you're in your 50s, it's a tough gig, mate. But,
mate, I love it. You're an absolute savage compared to me. It's always easy sitting here in the UK and saying whatever I like. But I just wanted to use that as an example for the remarkable difficulties it's like, not just in, people say about going to Everest or climbing it or just being in the area and how incredibly challenging and eye-opening it is. But like you say, they're usually just there for a couple of weeks or maybe a month at max to perhaps do a climb or participate in some sort of project. But we are, certainly from the Western world, we're just like squishy sea level creatures, aren't we? We're not really adjusted to that decrease in oxygen. And that, when I've heard stories from people that it goes from the acute mountain sequence into the headaches and the nausea and the dizziness, that sort of weird hungover feeling. And then it can go into that like cerebral edema, can't it? Where the
Yeah.
brain can start to swell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's the general consensus, John or Sonam, that when you're having people from the Western world come to visit you, it's a bit like for yourself, John, maybe. You know, when we think of international search and rescue, we don't like disaster tourists, where people visit a community and they immediately become an imposition on them. They become a weight on that community. This community's main focus needs to be to look after its own members of society. With so many, you said it went from 7,000 up to 50,000, like the weight that must place of a bunch of people coming over and progressively getting sicker and struggling more the longer they are there must put a massive weight on the emergency services.
Yeah, the hospitals are flat out. The clinics that have up the Khumbu, which is few and far between, are daily inundated with high altitude cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, which is a life-threatening condition. But we see that every day when we're traveling at altitude. Andy,
what do you do for people? What treatment can you even do for them?
Get downhill.
Yeah, that's
as fast as you can get downhill. Oxygenate downhill. Depending on the level of sickness, get to a hospital as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
With Andy a few days ago, we're sitting at over 4,500 meters training. We were working hard, rolling out hose, carrying kit. Andy hadn't slept for 4 nights. He came out of the accommodation block after I'd set him to get to bed, and he started to wobble a little bit. I take a doctor with me every time. The doctor gave a very quick assessment. I made the call that Andy was to get flown back to Lukla as soon as possible. By the time I'd put down the phone, a chopper had come overhead. Andy had packed his bag, literally threw him in a chopper, and off Andy went. One of the girls that was working with us came out and goes, "Where's Andy?" I goes, "He's now in Lukla."
And she was like, "Oh yeah, they don't make them like they used to, do they?"
Yeah, exactly. Zach. But after 24 hours, Andy had recovered and he was well.
Yeah.
Now, what happened at the same day? There was a checker from China, had the same symptoms, and was told to get back downhill. Who refused? Who carried on another 500 meters uphill? Who then ended up unconscious? Was eventually taken back down to Lukla, and was found just next door to the hotel here unconscious. And ironically, it was Andy who organised the fire crew to put him on a stretcher and carry him up to the hospital in Lukla. So Andy saved the guy that had the same conditions as him. Andy did the right thing. He came down, got better. The other chap didn't do the right thing, ended up unconscious. Andy's maybe tell you more about that. You're involved in the rescue.
Yeah, please.
I think that what John's saying there, Pete, is how professional the team has to be. So we've got a doctor with us, and that doctor.
I thought you were about to say what he's saying there. Basically, is I was a hero. That's what.
No.
What John's basically saying is,
bring him back
everywhere I go, I'm a hero.
I think what it is, though, we're long enough in the tooth to know that when you're feeling like shit and you haven't slept for 4 days.
Yeah.
It's time to kind of reassess your situation. Now, we're here to train and deliver life-saving skills. There is no point in becoming a casualty. So the discipline within the team is that we have an open conversation. We meet up. How's everybody feeling? 4 days in without sleep due to sleep apnea through the high altitude. It's clearly time to go down, and the decision is go and rest. But as John said, 48 hours later, I'm still sitting at 2,800 metres here, so I'm still in high altitude as far as my sea level body is concerned.
Yeah.
But as John has said, we get turned out to a trekker who was found unconscious next door, and we got the stretcher that was donated by Everest Fire and Rescue. Changed a wee bit of the way that we respond by sending someone on foot, a local who's used to this altitude, to the hospital, because that hospital sits about 200 metres higher than where we are just now. So it's like there's 1,000 steps to get up to the hospital.
Jesus.
So, and it takes a bit of time to get there. So you're trying to gather a bit of people, sent a runner on foot to get the oxygen, because we know that what the casualty needs is oxygen straight away. So instead of waiting 15 minutes to get there, it's like go at best speed, get the oxygen and bring it to the casualty. And that's exactly what we did. So the runner, Tika, who's a volunteer firefighter here, he went off at best speed, got the oxygen, came back. gave it to the casualty and then continued to carry him up to the hospital in Lukla. And 24 hours later, he's still sitting at oxygen saturation levels of about 68, which is pretty low for 2,800 metres.
68.
Yes.
Whoa.
He was sitting at 36 to 38 when he was found unconscious next door. So absolutely in a life-threatening situation.
38%.
Yes, on a pulse oximeter.
That is mad, isn't it? Most, ever hear people who know their trainers like, 94, give them more and all that jazz. If it's below 90, we're like, oh my God, is this person COPD? Are they dying?
Exactly.
38%.
Yeah.
It's
And then
remarkable what the body's capable of.
He's 60-something. He was sitting in the high 60s. I met him in the morning at Lukla Airport. He was getting flown back into Kathmandu and still very lethargic, but able to walk. And then was, moved by a light aircraft and into Kathmandu for further treatment. But I suppose with John raising that there, it highlights the necessity of to be disciplined within the team. Hold your hand up when you know that you're hanging out because you are at altitude. And ultimately, we're here to train and get back to the UK at the end of it.
Sonam, do you think, having experienced a lot of people like John and Andy from the Western world now, do you think that discipline that obviously you have probably born with or developed from the way you grew up in a harsh environment, do you think that needs to be taught? Do you think it comes naturally to people? Because, Andy's just spoken about self-awareness and team discipline. John will know as well. Sometimes that is easier to come by in some teams in the UK. Sometimes it's quite hard to come by. How do you know what an ego is? How do you not have an ego? I don't want to be condescending, but I don't want to use words that may not be familiar to you. Like, how do people not have an ego and realize that the team is more important than just themselves?
It is I think in the mountain, in higher altitude, it is we never think about any kind of ego because it is a necessary thing.
Well, I imagine ego can kill you. When I think of people going to that area to take on a challenge of some form, whether they're going to climb, they probably have an ego of some capacity with respect.
Some capacity, yeah. In past, we feel so this kind of thing. So in the tourist, unfortunately, I have to say this. Most of the Asian tourists have like some Korean, Japanese, if they have the aim to get the
they have a goal, they have an aim,
and and that did that kind of those kind of thing, self ego did a big accident in past. So many Asian tourists. We didn't find much more ego with the Western tourist yet. That is
okay.
Some have, but compared to Asian tourists, it's very less ego. If we advise them, if we get anything about high altitude, they easily can accept.
Okay, good. How you said, John, that you started out with 40-something recruits, like Sonam. How have you whittled it? How have you come down to 8 people? Like, what is selection criteria for a team member there? I imagine there's not hundreds and hundreds of people to choose from, but like, what does a good team member over there need?
Again, it comes with the discipline.
Okay.
Discipline means if the people joined initial phase, and I think people who can realize the importance of the fire and rescue or the life-saving things. And again, I think it comes the people's discipline. And then in terms of the selection, we are not talking about you can come and you cannot come. We never the automatically if let's say if people another 8 people want to join us in core team, we always open our door.
But it must be very difficult to have the equipment and the personal protective equipment. And I mean, John, maybe you can speak to that a little bit. Like, equipment and PPE has been one of the biggest challenges in trying to provide people with the right tools to give that, service to the community. Where do you feel like you're at now? And maybe this is a nice opportunity just to speak about some of the resources or support that we're still looking for out there.
Yeah, as the fire service grows, I mean, talked about whittling, that's Lukla down to 8. We've trained over 400 firefighters in total in the Khumbu. So every village has got some villages are bigger, some villages are smaller. One of the issues that we've found in the last 2 years is getting fire PPE for females.
Okay.
And we've found that using a lot of the bigger sizes that we get donated doesn't fit. And speaking to the female population, it puts them off. There's a lot of the fire kit they feel uncomfortable with. Because they feel uncomfortable, they don't then come back to training. And through conversation, it was down to the size of the PPE that just doesn't fit them. I think we get that issues back home as well, though. Speaking to members of women in the fire service, going to the conferences with them, and it's things that I didn't even think about as a male firefighter was, the different shape, going through hormonal changes as well later in life, all these kind of things. And it's one of the good things about starting a fire service from scratch is we're trying to nip that in the bud early. All the mistakes that we've made, and there's many.
It's taken us decades and decades to correct.
We're trying to come in with this best practice, and that's why next year we're looking for women in the fire service organisation to actually come out. And we've kind of gone away from talking about equipment and PPE.
No.
But I believe in female role models, encouraging younger females coming through the ranks.
I'm sure you've already ventured the conversation, but have you spoke to the girls, the Antarctic Fire Angels, having those two over? Because they're already sort of conditioned to a similar environment, I would say.
Yeah. Andy's mentioned them before. Yeah.
Mate, that just makes an obvious, and I'll put that shout out here, like Jules King, like get the girls in there. Let's get them over there, because they've already done so many of the courses and they're familiar with the arduous conditions. So when we're looking at equipment, I wanted to ask you about an obvious one that might be in people's heads, which is water.
No,
water freezes when you have when you try to, you can't just have. I imagine there's not domestic feeds in the same way that we have in the UK.
Well, Lukla down to this guy here. So Sonam's he's a bit of a multi-talented chap. All sort of stuff he does. He does the joinery, the building. He's built the water system for a lot of villages here. So hydraulics, hydropower. He's involved in. He designs it all himself. Water is a massive issue here. When we were here earlier on in the year, there was a drought. So Sonam would, in the morning before training, run up the hill to the water source, tell me how much water there was, and that would limit how much training that we could do for the day. So you think the Himalayas, lots of snow, lots of ice, there must be water. Well, actually, there's not that much water. And Sonam, I'll let you talk about that, because it is a major issue, and it's getting worse as the years go on with climate change. That the water is becoming less and less and less.
Yeah.
Why is that, Sonam?
Well, in past we didn't have that much problem. We never thought that the water might be less in the future. We never thought that, but 2 years back, like 10 years, about 10 years, we feel we measure every year on the Himalayan, the source, and every year dry season, the water is getting lower and lower and lower, and this dry, and every dry season, it is it is a main Everest Mount Everest climbing season.
Yeah.
So at this time, so many tourists used to come another season
So main climbing season is dry season.
yeah, dry season. Yeah.
So
Just
they
before.
come and put a massive demand on the water
Yes, tourists,
source
tourists,
at the time when it is the dry season anyway.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So
Why
yeah.
is there less water? Do we know? Do we have an idea? Do we have?
I think yeah. In my past like my past experience, my 15 years, 15, 20 years experience is clearly, we can clearly see that our glacier is losing the much more water than ever.
But people would, and I'm just being a moronic firefighter here. If I'm thinking, when we say climate change, I imagine we're suggesting that the climate is getting warmer and therefore the glacier is changing, melting, becoming less. Surely that would mean more water. I'm missing something obvious there, Sonam or John, or
Yeah.
why? Because is it mountain water? Is it fresh water that you pump from?
Most of the water is from the mountain water.
Okay.
Yeah. And we similar kind of losing water. We face a couple of villages, and I'm sure I'm sure that we might lose more water in future.
So what is, maybe you can support a little bit here, John, as well, but Sonam, you're the main one that knows. What's the plan for that then? Because water really comes down to quite a essential necessity for life. We haven't solved that one yet, maybe. That's worrying, isn't it, John?
Yeah. It's not just the drought. The monsoon season is changing as well. It's moving further into the year. The glacial lakes, as they call them, behind the glaciers, are starting to fill up with, it's strange, water is scarce down here, but the glacial lakes are melting and getting bigger. So all the ice water is being held behind the glaciers. So we went up to 5,500 meters just a couple of days ago, and we could see the glacier lakes getting huge and the glacier getting slightly smaller. And it comes a point where the glacier gets so small, it bursts, and all that ice water, millions and millions and millions of gallons, have got to go somewhere. And everything that's lying downstream is all the villages in the trail, including Lukla, all the way down. Now, only last year, Tammy burst.
Yeah.
So there was a massive glacial burst that wiped out a whole village called Tammy, and I got an alert from our sort of system and spoke live to Sonam as he was preparing to make his way there with the team. Luckily, nobody was killed. It was in the middle of the day. The whole village was destroyed. That was a smaller glacial burst, but there's glacials all round the Khumbu, ready to go. So the ice melts, but behind it, the lake gets bigger. You know, and we're very, very concerned at this point of what we're actually going to do when the next one goes.
I would never have thought of flooding as
it's more of a tsunami.
Such a risk.
Yeah. If you think about a tsunami but coming downhill, full of ice,
petrifying,
rocks
isn't
the
it?
size of buses, you know, it's like cement tsunami coming downhill. It's unbelievable to actually think about what it looks like, but it's absolutely terrifying. And nothing can survive in that.
And is it just a ridiculous suggestion when people say things like, why don't people just move? Why don't people just leave? Leave their homes, leave their generations of, they were born there, you know, but it is such a, I'm like, but I'm sure I'll get that from people. I'm like, well, that's a very privileged thing for you to say. You think you can just move around the UK or the US very easily, but
most people are not insured. So if you lose your home, you've got nothing. You're on the street.
Do they just have to lean on the society? Do they just lean on society and people come together and rebuild homes? Or
in Tammy, they've started to rebuild. They weren't given, funds to rehome anywhere else. They were given a small amount of fund to rebuild where they are. Unfortunately, the ground where they are starting to subside. With the monsoon later in the year, more of the village was destroyed, but they can't afford to move. It's not like us. We can maybe go down to, from Aberdeen to Glasgow, and there'll be another house there for us and the council. There isn't that here. You've got nothing. You're on the street.
Yeah. Also,
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Yeah. Also, the Khumbu is the because of the tourist and because of the huge amount of the mountain including Mount Everest. Because of the tourists, here is the much more opportunity than the rest of the country. So people don't want to move from here. Yeah.
How do the homes get electric? Sorry to get into some real granular detail here, but how do these homes get electric as well? Is it all generators?
Up to Namse, we do have a small micro hydro. It's not one micro hydro. Several villages have their own micro hydro power, and then from above Namse, every hotel and lodges and houses should have their own small solar PV panel.
Wow. That still doesn't seem like a tremendous amount to be supporting such a heavy tourist influx on an annual basis. It just blows my mind that so much of the world use that as a adventure playground and don't seem to invest in it.
No.
That blows my mind.
The most richest people in the world come through this street here on the way to Everest. Think to climb Everest itself, minimum $40,000 to $150,000. These people wander through here, but you don't see that money landing. I certainly don't see the money, landing into the community as much as it should, I would say.
So what have you been doing on your trip this time, John? What has been the purpose of this trip? Because we're also coming up to, I know the service has only been going for 3 years, but there's you always have a different anniversary almost every time you go because you've been coming for many more years than 3 years now, haven't you?
Yeah, so in April, when I was crossing April, that was the anniversary of myself coming out here with UK ISAR for our international deployment for the big earthquake in 2015 in Nepal.
10 years.
That was 10 years in April, and we had a special ceremony here in Lukla for that, which was really touching. 10 years and counting. But I've given it when I met Sonam 3 years ago in Kathmandu, I gave him my word that I'd be here for 10 years, or the project would be here for at least 10 years. It was basically a long-term commitment. I'm not here for today. We had the same conversation downhill in the community. I says, I'm not here just to deliver some kit today and then make promises that I'm not going to back up. It's a cast iron guarantee that we will see this through to be a functioning fire service. Now, that 10 years is open-ended, but it had to be I gave it a number and it was 10 years. We're 3 years into the 10 years. We're doing really well. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of equipment still to get. We're still training new. This year we went up and we trained another 2 brand new villages in basic firefighting. We've still got to put in place breathing apparatus, which hasn't even been looked at yet. We're getting the basic infrastructure, and then we're going to start to build and build and build.
So I want to ask you a little bit around how people get around in a minute in terms of vehicles and terrain, but how have you managed to convince your wife that you're going to do another 7 years of this?
Yeah, family.
Because she's ringing me on a regular basis. And I just say to her, look, he's not dead yet, so I don't think we should really have a proper relationship yet. I know I'm getting on well with the children, but John is still around, sort of. Like, help me out, because I want to give her a bit of a timeline, because we're very much in love. I'll be honest, we're very much in love.
I would say that my family are understanding to a point. I do not get a green light for this. There's a little bit of friction.
I thought you were about to say she thinks I'm at work. she thinks I'm at the station 10 miles away.
Yeah, no, not at all. But it's not been easy for the family. But as you know, back in 2017, I took pretty ill with my mental health. The earthquake being a little bit of a catalyst towards my depression, and I have used this to put away some old ghosts that were hanging there, because there's a limited amount that we could do when we deployed to Nepal. So this to me is a journey. It's not ended yet. Things are way, way better than what they used to be. But I would say, unfortunately, and I'll admit, I've had to put the family on the back burner quite a lot of the time when I've come out. 2 months of the year I've tried. So that's annual leave. That's a lot of my money goes into towards this. That should probably go into my house. My front door's not in a good condition. I can't afford to pay for it.
You say that, but
That-
like you say, for you, because you have and you know you have so much experience at different places around the world, your spectrum of
Yeah.
good to bad to, you know, don't make good the enemy of perfect. You're coming from places where people had, you know, killed to have a front door that's not exactly as they like it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You see what
Good
people are
thinking,
living
good
with,
thinking.
and that's
Yeah.
got to be a really tough. We've said it before, like when you come back from there,
Yeah.
and we're getting the family together for a Sunday roast, and you know, we've got tickets to the theatre, which is great. And
Yeah.
we've just, you know what, I was about to catch myself then, because I was going to say we forget how lucky we are to have been born in the West, but actually, it's a different way of life. And there's something about me and the amount of technology I live with at times where you have a real envy of people that are happier with a different type of life. I don't want to say less because it positions it as better or
they're
worse.
rich. They're rich in culture, rich in
Yes.
spirit, very rich in family. And I had this conversation yesterday with somebody, exactly the same thing. We are a lot wealthier. Maybe certain people are wealthier with
Mhm.
finance, but we're way, way poorer in the way we treat each other. We live in our mobile phones in the West. We go and watch telly. I sit in front of the telly. I've not watched telly for a month now.
Yeah.
You know, here we talk to one another. We think about family. We talk about people. There's a lot more love goes about these communities, I would say, than I've ever seen back home.
Yeah. Do you think it's
Everybody
that
knows us
sense
here.
of
We know everybody. We are well looked after. I think there's a lot more respect for humanity here, I would say.
Well, I think because you see the fragility of it more as well. You
Yes.
see
A lot of
the
death.
fragility
Yeah,
of humanity there, and
yeah,
you see a lot of
yeah.
death. And I think you just value so much more the support of one another, and also having a sense of purpose and a mission
Mhm.
gives us a tremendous sense of meaning, doesn't it? Whereas I think in our world, we probably struggle a lot more with our mental health because we are so lost with what is the point of any of this if I don't go to work? Who will care? I will just the government will catch me. I will just land on the benefit system or whatever. And yeah, there's a reason so many people travel to areas like that. I think it speaks so much more to our natural state. I would argue, you know, the way you speak about it fills me with envy. To be totally honest with you. So anyway, sorry. What was part of this journey when you were over there now? And also, just give us a heads up again about how people get around. I know we spoke earlier about donkeys and manpower or people power, but like, do they have quad bikes, fire engines? What's the recognized way for people getting around there?
There's absolutely no wheeled transport in the Khumbu. So from Lukla up to Everest, there's no wheeled transport. It's all donkeys. Higher up you go, it's yaks, the bigger kind of hairier beasts, or just walking up. There's helicopters that kind of service the Khumbu, but they're very, very expensive. So generally, people will walk in their
How
2 feet.
expensive? How much does Andy owe us for his silliness
That's a
the
good
other day?
question, Andy.
There's cakes and then there's cakes, isn't there? I mean, there's cakes and then there's an entire Greg's.
It's Jaffa cakes, mate.
You're a Jaffa cake.
You could be talking about $1,000 for a flight, depending. It all depends on the time of day. If you're going uphill, if you're going downhill, the season. Flights are getting cheaper now because it's low season, and sometimes the helicopter companies will give us a very discounted rate if we have to use the helicopters. Tend not to use helicopters if we can't help it. Absolutely going uphill. We walk because of the climatization. It's healthier for us. We try to take our time going uphill. We're quite lucky because we spend a lot of time in each village as we go up. So we've got, a couple of weeks to actually acclimatise by the time we get up to, let's say, Dingboche, 4,400, where we spend a lot of our time. If we were to fly there from sea level, we'd be sick within about an hour. We'd be in hospital within the day.
Mm.
So it's transport wise, it's make yaks 10. There's no, we wouldn't use helicopters for fire service unless it was an absolute disaster and we'd have to get people from place to place.
Stupid question, but just where my curious brain goes. Is there enough of those animals? How do people
it's
feed and reproduce
lots of
yaks and donkeys and
there's lots of horses about, yaks,
horses?
lots of porters. Yeah, horses. Lots of people use
I'm
horses.
surprised they would survive all right.
Yeah, like Wild West. Oh no, yeah, they take the feed with them, because above Namche there's not much vegetation, so there's no much trees. You're not actually allowed to chop down trees, in the Sagmatha Park.
Yeah, because of the altitude, we do not have that much grass and trees in high altitude. So we need to prepare every food for horses and yaks from here.
Yeah, so even keeping yourself warm at night, it's yak shit.
Yeah.
So don't burn wood. Generally, it'll be yak shit that they burn.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just gather all that up as you go
Gather all the
have your
shit.
shit bag.
Make wee pancakes, dry it out. So you walk along, there's pancakes on the wall.
That's got to be
good for
Andy's
drying
job
out.
for the rest of the time they're there, surely, for the silliness of the other day. Shitbag. That's Andy's new nickname.
Yeah, Andy.
Shitbag Goldie.
Big man,
Hello,
I'm going to give you a buy on that one.
Oh,
we're going to
thank you,
rise.
mate.
We're going to
I'm
rise.
getting a bit too
I'm gonna
overfamiliar
rise.
now. I'm getting a bit cheeky. You know what I am.
Yeah, I'm going to rise.
He looked after me and a few friends up our last little mountain expedition.
Yeah, we're good.
So across the room for us there is some really hard people that are called porters. Now, porters come from all over Nepal. Some people mistakenly say that the people that carry the bags are Sherpas. Sherpa is a community, it's a culture. Some Sherpas do porter, but porters come from all over Nepal during the season to earn money, and they'll carry up to 80 kilograms in their back right the way to base camp. So these people are
80 kilograms. I remember, by the way, and you were kind not to correct me. Earlier I said Gurkhas, I meant Sherpas. You knew that.
Well, Gurkhas are roundabout as well. The Gurkha Valley. But in this area here, it is Sherpa, which is a people that came originally from Tibetan area, down into the hills. But we have many different cultures as well in the Khumbu. The gentleman across from us just now were our porters for the duration of our trip. So they helped us weak Westerners carry our bags and equipment up the hill because we can't do it. We physically can't do it. So we had our day packs, maybe an overnight sleep system in our bag. The last few times I did carry my bags and I got really sick. So the decision was made this time is we were going to hire porters who are going to be paid very well tonight. And we're gonna feed them and buy them beer. Unfortunately, people that come across, tourists, will pay the minimum fee, and that minimum fee will only pay for the porter's accommodation and the porter's food. When they come back down the hill, if they don't get a tip, they don't earn any money whatsoever. Yeah,
it is a strange system of unconscious or sometimes conscious abuse with respect. It's like, well, abuse. What's your other options? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Right.
So they spend the whole season hoping to get this tip that they won't ask for. Yeah. They won't come and ask for it. But
is that part of a downside of the politeness of the community?
Absolute. They're very respectful, very polite.
Yeah, I know,
they don't ask
but
for anything.
That puts people open for abuse, doesn't it? Is the problem?
Absolutely.
Because Westerners, sometimes we're wretched creatures.
We've got a strict policy. We don't overburden them on what we ask them to carry. And when it's all finished and said and done, that they are well recompensed for what they do.
Good man. I wanted to ask you about, again, I know my ADHD keeps dragging us off. What were some of the taskings for this trip? What were some of the little wins and the goals you and Sonam wanted to try and achieve as part of your trip this time?
So we were asked to start up 2 new fire stations, fire crews, one in Pangboche village, and fully kit them and equip them for basic firefighting, defensive. Another was in Dingboche at 4,500 meters. So that was the game. The goal for this trip was to train and equip those 2 new fire stations, and to do some maintenance training in all other fire stations, or crews, should I say, that
Yeah.
we've trained so far. So we revisit twice a year the crews that we've already trained.
Random
Challenges,
selfish
lots of
request.
challenges.
Sorry, I've just thought about it because I was speaking about you a few days ago when I was meeting with some friends. So we've just had this will sound so wanky, I apologise, but like we've just had First Tactical and Jafco join us for a year of doing some work together. And I was speaking to them about yourselves. And they were saying, "Oh, you know, you're doing so many weird projects, Pete, and the pink firefighters and all this sort of stuff. But is there anything that you think we could support or donate to?" And obviously, because I was speaking with you anyway, you were first in my mind, and I thought I'd bring it up during our chat, and we can have an offline chat afterwards or whatever. I can feed you into people. But I thought, how would they be of any use? I don't know. Now, Jafco, we know, would do all of the ceiling hooks and shovels and all that insulated gear and all that kit. I was like, I don't know, but I will raise it to John. I'm sure that they do a large wealth of other equipment that may or may not be useful. But I don't know what you guys and girls are short of out there. I know First Tactical do masses of clothing and boots and all sorts of stuff. But I thought I'd publicly put it out there just to say.
We've chatted about this before. So obviously PPE, hand tools, equipment, generators, light portable pumps is a major issue. The biggest issue that we have and we're finding is the kit we're sending out isn't getting stored properly. And you think about the conditions going down to minus 20, 25 at night time. Some of the kit's been stored outside. We had 2 pumps that we sent over are now wrecked. They had to be stripped down because they've been kept outside for 4 months. The big issue is we don't have specific fire stations to keep any of the equipment in.
So what does adequate storage look like? Are we talking about a big thermal tent, or we're talking about a physical structure?
A physical structure. We need physical structures in the villages. So it could be from the size of a small bungalow, for example, in Lukla, or the bigger town Namche, to a small shed that's insulated, to the rescue boxes that we're now trying to put in place up the mountains. That could be just a box with some PPE in it that's insulated and warmed with solar panels. So Sonam's already designed 2 fire stations. We've got the designs, and I've put it out there again. If there's anybody else that would want to sponsor these fire stations, that could get their name on the side of the fire station, have the world's highest fire station to their accolade. I've been given authority by the local government and by Sonam to look for ethical sponsors to come on board to help us. At the moment, we don't have anybody that will put their brand onto our uniform. Or
Sonam,
our potential station.
Can I ask you and put you right on the spot? I know it feels like you're going to say something public that you might be asked about later, but how much is it to sponsor a fire station? Do you think 10, 20, 30, 40,000, more, less?
I think it's
how much to build one?
The one
to store equipment.
Basic fire station. It might take more than $30,000.
$30,000
because of the transportation too expensive here.
Okay. How much are the storage boxes, John? Solar powered storage boxes for life-saving equipment.
We put a price on them at £5,000. That's including the equipment that's stored inside them. We had one.
That's closer, isn't it?
Yeah,
£5,000 is achievable for people.
So that's the rescue box, snatch rescue boxes that sit at the helipads. So, like your Everest base camp helipad, if a chopper that came down, you'd be some grab bags, PPE, trauma kit, extinguishers. One went in place. We've paid for one ourselves, and it's gone in place in a place called Ferici as a bit of a showpiece of what we were looking for.
That's it.
£5,000 all the way up to 30. Okay.
Yeah, that's that rescue box. There's Everest Base Camp rescue boxes there for a company that wants it. If a company wants to put their name at Everest Base Camp, that box is ready to go with their name on it, and we can get that fabricated in Nepal.
That just excites the hell out of me. Everest Base Camp.
But so far nobody has taken me up on it.
I think that's incredible. Wow. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, gents. We've been talking for an hour already. I would love to continue to speak about, follow along, and eventually get my head out my ass and come and share some time with you over there. But we're going out to Intersec in January in Dubai, and I want to have these numbers in my head, because when I'm speaking to people and they're always asking me about all these people I speak to and the projects that I have in my head and stuff like that, it's I'll be loving to point some people in your direction. Is there anything else we want to leave in the mind of our listeners as we look along the next year or two? Sort of exciting things that's happening as part of this project, or anybody we need to give appreciation or thanks to?
Yeah, so we've got next year we've got Edward Matthew coming out to do a documentary on Everest Fire and Rescue and the journey that we've taken so far. Edward, as you maybe know, came on board with Fire Aid and International Development to do the Ukraine convoy, ended up staying in Ukraine, lives there now, and covers all the disaster that is the war in Ukraine. So Edward's a good friend, and he's going to come out to do the documentary with us next year. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be really exciting, and hopefully it'll get the word out there as well to help advance our efforts in building fire stations and some funding coming in.
Mate, I think that's absolutely incredible. And you know what? I was just thinking in my head as I was saying it then, but I'm going to say it because we've had a good end of a year. I want to give you 500 quid. Literally straight after this, I want to send you £500 for you to do something with.
Thanks, mate.
Can't give any more than that at the minute, but I want to put it out there. And I know it sounds performative, and I genuinely didn't even think about it until we were just talking then. I nearly said 5,000, but I think that my missus would be really upset about that. So I'm not going to say that. But send me some stuff, mate. We'll chat in a minute. But I'd love to do that just because I wanted to be out there and do some stuff with you guys, and I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is really, really important, doing the awareness piece, and I'll always be there to support you with that. But I feel like I've failed a little bit from all the kind conversations that we've had in the past and the efforts that you made to try and get me out there with you. So I'd love to still feel like we're helping out. So let's get that sorted immediately after this phone call. Send me some details. Sonam, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you. Please send my love to your colleagues and your family and your friends. Andy, I'm disappointed, but you're still a better man than me because you're out there, you're kicking ass, you're taking names. Everything you say you're going to do, you do, which is why you'll always be one of my heroes. So I think it's half selfishness, half jealousy from me. But I love you very much, brother. And please come home safe, because otherwise who are we going to call shitbag if we have to give it to somebody else then? If you don't come back, we're going to have to give someone else the nickname.
Listen, mate, I'm taking it. Sorry.
We'll
I'm forgetting this has been recorded. I need to be polite.
You be polite. I can say whatever I like. John, let's pick it up straight after this, mate, and let's box that off before I forget about it. But I love you very much, mate. Send my love to everybody, and please come home safe. All right.
Thanks, Pete.